Hey there, this is Coach Chris. How are you today? Thank you for listening. I'm sitting with a friend of mine by the name of JP, or Joseph. Poirier, right?
Yeah,
is how you...
Poirier is like Foyer, but with a P, so
Yeah.
Poirier.
Yeah,
It's
Poirier, Poirier.
Poirier for the French.
Poirier.
There you go. Yeah, that's very good.
Got a little something in my throat.
You gotta clean that out.
So I'm excited to sit with JP. JP has actually been part of our team for many years. He has been behind the camera, and there actually are some. JP, first of all, who are you? Like, why am I talking with you today?
Well, I guess I need to be a No. It's so I'm actually a campus pastor at a local church.
Right.
Yeah. So I went to Bible college, and I got a master's in divinity. I got a bachelor's in Bible, and I also enjoy and absolutely love fitness. So it's kind of cool to have the opportunity to work here and do some camera work, which I like to do because it gives me the ability to be creative, of course, but also have that opportunity to kind of be a spiritual guidance, so to speak. So, that's a little bit who I am. Married, have a wife, no kids yet. We'll actually be coming up on our 8 years here in July.
8 years
8
already?
years, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's congratulations.
Yeah,
good for you.
I appreciate that.
Hey, no rush. You're just like breaking into 30dom.
I just turned 30 this year.
Right.
Yeah,
so
in April.
It's like, I mean, my wife and I didn't even start thinking about kids until after 30.
Yeah.
Just because we wanted that time in our marriage to just enjoy each other and do things, get a house, have animals, travel, do some of that stuff, and which you guys have been doing, which is pretty awesome.
It makes it a lot easier when you don't have in-laws pushing you.
Yeah.
Our in-laws are like, no, don't have kids yet. Enjoy your time together.
Yeah, sure.
I don't think they want to feel the getting old, quote unquote.
People are having kids later. Right. Well, that's just
that's
too,
what it is. They're trying to hold off on their youth.
The grandparent.
Exactly.
Thing, tag. So JP and I are going to kind of cover some like more spiritual meets physical.
Yeah.
And because, Strong by Design is about the mind, the body, and the spirit. So we're trying to, we're connecting dots here, because if we were always just about the physical side of things, we'd be really missing out, obviously, on 60% of what kind of like drives us, right?
Yep.
So, like as I was saying on our YouTube channel, if you go to youtube.com/criticalbench, there are some videos of you from years back talking about and you were covering some of this type of material here. But what we want to talk about today is kind of something that you had said here is physical is spiritual, which equals spiritual is physical, which is like, okay, it's one of those like thing gets your mind working a little bit.
Yeah, of course.
So where's the connection from your perspective with your background, which is much different, obviously, than mine? How do you explain that?
Yeah, of course. So really the biggest passion for me, and this is kind of something I've been on this path for probably the last 5 or 6 years, is this idea that we're all spiritual beings. Of course, as a Christian, is who I am, and as a pastor, I understand that. But there's so much more to it than just this idea of the spirituality. There's a whole physical realm which we live in, we operate in every single day. And a lot of people, they miss the cohesiveness that should be between the spiritual realm and the physical realm. And it was a mentor of mine growing up that always would tell us on a regular basis, he'd always be like, Joseph, you need to understand that the spiritual realm affects the physical realm, but the physical realm also affects the spiritual realm. So basically getting this idea that whatever's taking place in your life spiritually or mentally is gonna come out physically. And then whatever you're ingesting physically or doing physically is also going to affect you spiritually. And the idea is that both of them go hand in hand. And I've been on this pursuit in discipling other people, counseling other people, coaching other people, getting them to understand that how they're feeding their mind. And we'll talk a little about this idea of the 5 sense gates and how important they are. But what you're feeding your mind, you're feeding your faith, your spirituality is going to come out in your physical world. And then whatever you're doing in your physical world is also going to affect that spiritual world. And I'm trying to get more and more people to understand the connection that's between these two. Yeah. So it's a big passion of mine right now. It's a big deal. I've really done a lot of focus on how can I strengthen my faith, so to speak, how that then prepares my mind, because let's be honest, you can do whatever you want, but once you take control of the mind, you can almost accelerate whatever it is you're pursuing. Right. So if it's physical strength, which is probably what we'll focus more on here, you can physically push yourself to a limit. But those individuals who are living at a higher level, as far as mentality goes, know that they can push that physical realm even further, but by having the mental capacity to be able to do that. Right. And it's taking control. We, as in our minds, human beings, have that ability to push our physical being well beyond what we think. Right. I mean, you know that, being a coach, you understand that. You work with somebody, training them, you know they could do a whole lot more. But what's blocking them is their mental capacity. Yeah. Their mental capacity is stopping them from doing that. The
simple act of telling yourself you can or cannot do something.
That's it.
I mean, as simple as it gets. Yep. And that's your mind controlling your physical output.
Yeah,
you know,
that's what it is.
I can't run fast enough to beat this guy. Right. I can't, lift this weight to, whatever. So yeah, I mean that's awesome.
Yeah. And I like putting that a little bit further in just the mind, because the mind has to have some type of stability. Where do you get that stability?
Sure.
Well, it comes from faith.
What's our rock?
That's our rock. Exactly. What is the basement of the house of your life? Right. Like, what's the basement? What is the rest of the home that you have built? What is the basement? What is the foundation of that?
And for someone listening, listen, I understand if you didn't grow up going to church and even if you did, it doesn't mean that you have a strong faith.
Oh, yeah,
There's plenty of people I know that grew up going to church or whatever, and they actually got a really bad taste in their mouth.
Oh, of course.
Maybe, God knows what reason. Yeah. But I grew up going to church with my family and being part of youth groups and stuff. And I understand, people will turn off listening to something like this because they're like, they're talking about religion. Yep. They're talking about Christianity. I don't want to. And I really implore anybody listening, if that's your mindset, then you're losing. You're losing out because instantly you're just saying, there's nothing there for me to gain from. Yeah. And that's not, we're not trying to tell you, you gotta, I don't know. We're not telling you to do anything. Yep. It's really good, and I had this problem, and I've gotten better as I've gotten older, which I think it is something that comes with like a level of maturity or wisdom or age or whatever it is, where you have to open yourself up a little bit to at least listening to the other side of things. That's right. Even if it's scary or foreign or whatever it is, because you're really doing yourself a disservice.
Open-mindedness. That is the first level of any growth mentally, period, is being open-minded and being willing to accept what is being spoken to you. Now, you have to understand that you have to articulate that, and what is good for you, you take, and what is not, you set aside. But openness is the most important thing. Yeah. And then I think too many people today have put themselves in a position where they've closed their minds off, which is probably one of the reasons why they're lacking in their growth in all aspects of life. Success is not just one portion of life. Success is all parts of life. Right. And if you're closed off, then you're missing out.
That's right. Yeah. We could cover very quickly, we could very quickly mention people that are very famous, celebrities or athletes like Stephen Curry. Yep. I want to say Steve. Yeah. But it's Steph Curry or Stephen Curry.
Exactly.
Tim Tebow. To name a couple of people who right out of the gate are very open with their with their faith, where they draw their strength from, and what's made them such terrific athletes. And people say whatever they want about Tim Tebow. He made it in the NFL, and then they pulled the plug on him. So he's trying to just make it in baseball now.
Exactly.
But he's a great person and an amazing athlete, and I think a 2-time national championship quarterback from the Florida Gators. So can't take anything away from that guy. But we could go through pages of people that have proclaimed their faith.
Yep.
And that are at a high level.
Yeah.
It's just that they don't seem to get the attention or the accolades for it. Isn't that funny?
Yeah, it's society. It's just where the society is today.
It makes people uncomfortable.
It does. That's what it is. It just makes people uncomfortable, and not to get all crazy and political, but we've put ourselves as a country in a position where we want to make sure everybody's got a pat on their back.
Right.
And that's unfortunate. But hey, that's what it is, and that's where we are as a country.
Yeah. Well, because people are quick to say, "Well, you're wrong.
This
is the way it is."
Hey,
but,
openness.
Right.
We just talked about it.
That's just it. You just got to be willing to. I mean, because just because I'm not Jewish doesn't mean I can't have a relationship with somebody who's Jewish.
You're exactly right.
Or somebody who's from another part of the world that is agnostic or something like that. It doesn't mean that we can't be friends and have a relationship and have likes that are the same and stuff like that. It's just that there's different things guiding us. Share with me. So you have a verse here from some scripture.
Yeah, definitely.
Talk with me about this 1 Corinthians one.
So you kind of just brought up these famous athletes, just a couple of these guys. One of the things that I think is important to understand about them is that they have mastered stability mentally.
Yeah.
Okay.
No doubt.
To get to that level that they are professionally, they didn't do that with a broken mind. They just didn't. They understood their place. They understood their purpose. And in doing that, it gave them that stability. You see here in 1 Corinthians 6, 19 and 20, it talks about this idea of our bodies almost being rented. And this idea that what we have inside of us has been given a gift. And Scripture says pretty straightforward, it says, "Do you not know that your body is a temple of the Holy Spirit within you, who you have from God?" Meaning that the body you have is a gift of yours. It's been gifted to you. Life is a gift. The majority of people, I believe, whether you believe in God or you don't, that is a genuine belief they have, is that life is a gift. It can be taken so quickly. But this idea behind this is that your body is a gift to you. Your life is a gift. And it says, you are not your own. You were bought with a price, so glorify God in your body. So this mindset that's behind this, and as we grow in our faith and we begin to master our minds, we begin to come to the realization that we're not in control. We're renting our bodies. There's a spiritual being that lives inside of us. That's what we are as beings, because when we pass, those who believe in Christianity, when we pass, we go to heaven. So we're just living inside of the shell almost here on earth. So we're renting this body. Well, that puts you in a completely different perspective when you realize that the human form you have is a rental and it's not yours. And usually when we rent a vehicle or we borrow something from somebody else, the majority of us, we take care of it and we treat it well. And we provide what it needs, the proper fuel for it to function in a great manner. These athletes, Tim Tebow, Steph Curry, you could name a whole list of them. They've come to that realization that mentally they are renting the body that they have. And it is a tool for them to use in order to achieve whatever it is they're trying to achieve at a high level. That faith is given in that foundation. So they've tied this idea that their faith, which is through God, has given them the gift of life. All right. And then through that gift of life, they're renting this temple or this body that they have. And because it's a rental, you need to do everything you can to take care of that body specifically. Yeah. So that puts them in a position, and it makes them think differently. Yeah. And makes them think almost in a manner that, hey, I'm renting this. And because I'm renting this, I need to take an even better care of what I should and how I should take care of it.
I have another name, and it's funny because I was just reading anybody listening, if you're doing any kind of studying of the Bible or reading of a devotional, Tony Evans is very, very popular and has some great stuff out there. And I was just reading something about Jerry Rice, and he grew up, and everybody knows who Jerry Rice is. He's the GOAT. Yep. When it comes to being a receiver in the NFL, he's the greatest of all time. But no one really probably knows that he grew up in the church and grew up really trying to follow in the footsteps of his dad's strong faith. And part of what made him such an amazing athlete was it's like what you're saying. He treated his body just like a temple.
Yeah.
And he was the best and still trying to get better.
Yeah. Of course.
And others, and what happened? Other men followed in his footsteps, and he was part of some of the best teams, ever.
Yep. He created a vacuum behind him, which
Yeah.
pulled along these other individuals.
People are like, look how hard this guy's working,
exactly
and he's
right.
already better than we are. We better do something.
Yeah. Well, and it's because of that thought process, and faith makes us come to that realization, because if we understand the foundation of faith, it's believing in things that are unknown. You can't smell it, you can't taste it, you can't touch it. Faith is this idea of putting yourself in a position where you're always striving to try to be better, but you really don't know where the end result is.
Right.
You don't know what perfection looks like. We don't know what the end game is, but we know we have to keep pushing ourselves in that direction. Right. And for some people, that's very exhausting and it's tiring, but that's what that faith is. And what happens is faith pushes us mentally, which then strengthens our mind. And when you get your mind under control, that's when you're able to control the rest of the aspect of life. Physical, mental, spiritual. You're able to control all elements of life because you've captured the mind and you've taken control of it. And like I said, we'll talk more about those 5 sense gates later, because those 5 sense gates are the most important aspect of controlling the mind and growing it and strengthening it as a whole.
Yeah, it's really interesting stuff. And I know we have one of our other podcast episodes is about mental toughness with another guy, Mike Gillette, who's he came at it from a slightly different perspective, but he also he's a Christian openly, and has a really strong faith, great family. But he's been able to accomplish physical feats.
The things he's done has been unbelievable.
Unbelievable. Yep. And people are like, stuff like that, when you can't explain it.
Exactly.
Well, then it's probably you can't explain it for a reason. It's kind of like who can explain the size of the universe?
Yeah.
People can't. I don't know what the right term is, but astronomers are the people that study the stars and the
astrology and stuff.
All that stuff. They can't even really put it into perspective. Yeah. Like for them, people who have a really good understanding of big numbers, and they're like, it's just like when you start adding so many zeros to things, and then it's got to come from somewhere else.
It's got to come from somewhere else.
Yeah, it's like so can someone achieve true physical strength or their potential without the spiritual side?
Okay.
I mean, in your opinion.
Yeah. Of course they can.
Okay.
Of course they can. But my real question would be, but for how long can they hold that position? You can get out there and beat yourself physically to death for 5-6 years, become the biggest, the baddest, the best you possibly can. But how long are you going to be able to sustain that? Because let's be honest, physical strength is taxing mentally. Mm-hmm. It is. You got guys who are cutting, who are putting themselves in positions, they're eating the right type of foods, they're always focusing on it, they're always putting their minds and taxing their minds on making sure their physical portion of their whole experience is solid. Mm-hmm. That is taxing on the mind. And truthfully, without that faith, that stability that's there, my real question would be, how long can you hold it? Right. Are there plenty of people who have gone out there and done extraordinary things and have no faith, have no stability? Of course they have. Right. But how quick are they here and how quick are they gone? And that's really this idea. So yeah, physically, sure, of course you can. Anybody can blow up and be massive and huge and the top of the chain. But for how long are they going to stay there is what my real question would be at the end of that, is how long will that stability last? Because mentally you're going to get exhausted. You're going to get tired. And truthfully, my other portion of that would be, how rewarding would it really be? Right. How rewarding would it be?
What's your end game?
What's your purpose?
Yeah.
Because if your purpose is purely pleasure in the physical realm, you're never going to be satisfied.
Right.
And you're going to just be chasing something that's never going to give you fulfillment.
And let's all be honest, we all are getting older. No one's getting around the age factor.
No.
No one I've ever met.
No.
And all you're going to have diminishing returns, because you're going to get to a certain point in your life where you're just not what you once were. Yep. And now what? Now what? You're probably super depressed because you don't have anything else governing your this goal that you've set for yourself, because it's just purely a physical, aesthetic, maybe even narcissistic or ego-driven kind of thing. How good do I look? How attractive am I?
All of that is so taxing on the mind.
Yeah,
it really is. Now, am I saying we all should just not care about what we look like?
No,
well, of course not. We're renting.
You look
the
good.
temple.
You got the beard.
I appreciate it. Man.
You got the hair.
I try.
Yeah, you
got a beautiful wife. Got to stay kind of with her.
Yeah. I mean, you're doing it right. I understand, but
think about this. Have you ever sat down with an elder, with an older person, and asked them, what are the regrets in your life?
Yeah.
And it's almost 95% of the time they tell you that they pushed so hard to succeed, and truthfully, they never did. They lost family time. They lost faith. They lost taking care of people. They lost stability. Mm-hmm. They worried more about who they were than who they could help. And I'm not saying we all need to be Mother Teresa's. That's not what I'm saying. But what I'm saying is that if you're going to pursue that strength physically, at what cost is it? And then on top of that, for what purpose? What's the purpose in it? Is the purpose to just be selfish, or is the purpose to help and to have a reason for doing that? Because here's the deal. If all of us were open enough to be willing to help the person next to us, we could change this world in a heartbeat. Right. And I'm not just talking about faith and religion. I'm talking about the human being helping the human being out.
Yeah, right.
And we're missing that element.
The things that we've seen getting kind of ripped apart.
Oh, of course.
In recent times, certainly. And I don't know that.
People
want to point the finger at technology, so quickly that it's just, it's like, okay, yes, but I don't think the fact that my kid has, maybe a half an hour too much tablet time is going to make them a bad human being. Yeah. It's like, what else am I putting the time in with my kid?
Yep.
Am I spending time with, the sick relative? Or that really needs needs me, or the maybe depressed friend that needs you to be a listener,
just to sit for 5 minutes and let them talk to you. That's what they're looking for. That's a part of that mental stability, and that's what all of us are missing.
Being more full, feeling more full.
That's the perfect way to say it. That really is. I really love Proverbs 24:5 says, "A wise man is full of strength, and a man of knowledge enhances his might." And that idea behind that is that wisdom is something that a lot of people have today. They're not. There's a lot of knowledge going around.
Sure.
But there's not a lot of wisdom.
Yeah.
Wisdom is strength. What is wisdom? Wisdom is stability. It's mental stability.
Right.
That's what it is. Because when you have wisdom, you can sit back and you can observe the world and then make decisions accordingly in order to impact that world and make it greater, make it better. That's what that true strength is. And then this idea of knowledge and having knowledge. Well, knowledge is might. It is. But that takes place because of wisdom, because of stability. You can't pour knowledge into an empty mind. It will just flow out, flow in, flow out. Right. In one ear and out the other is what will happen, because there's nothing to catch that. There's no strength there to grasp that and to hold on to it. So that's that foundation that's built there. And a lot of people are missing that. They're really missing this idea of wisdom and how important wisdom is.
That's why I feel like people who have that it factor when it comes to, those are the leaders. Those are the people that you want to follow.
That's
because
exactly right.
You can they might not say much, but when they speak, it's very powerful. Yeah. And you're like, like a Tony Dungy. I mean, talk about a man of God. Dungy. I've heard him speak at my church before, Grace Family Church. Yep. And he's a member there, and he speaks regularly. And he's just you listen to a guy like that talk, and this is a guy who, talk about performing at a high level, right? He became an NFL player for the Pittsburgh Steelers. He obviously became a coach for the Buccaneers and the Colts, became the first black coach to win a Super Bowl, and is the nicest, most friendly man, humble. Yeah, and talk about somebody who's wise.
Yep.
You know what I mean? He just has that.
There's like
when
a
he
fountain
speaks,
there.
everyone just like shuts up and listens because they know there's some nuggets in there.
That's right.
Yeah.
And people are open to that. The ones who are opened, they're willing to let that just be poured into them, that wisdom that's there. It's like there's a fountain there, and we don't understand where he's getting that wisdom from.
Yeah.
We do know where it's from,
but
he just pours that out, and it really changes not only his life, but people's lives, because he's not focused on himself. He's focused on what he can do to better society, better the world, better the human.
Right,
family.
yeah. You think about it, it's like how many people's lives has he changed that he'll never meet?
Millions of people's
with
lives.
His books and his words, and I mean, he's still touching people just being on television talking about football, but people know like what he's all about. And just his being there, being part of that, it just makes you be like, well, if he's in there, he's changing people just around him in that small group in that room. Just people he rubs off on. Not even just talking about football. Not even talking about his faith and everything. It's pretty cool.
It is.
So moving on, this next point that you have here. How can we train both?
Okay.
So, what's and when you say that, you're talking pretty much about the physical and the spiritual?
And the spiritual, yeah.
So how can we
mend them together, make them grow together, make them merge? And seeing this idea that the spiritual realm affects the physical realm, the physical realm affects the spiritual realm. Well, number one, it's developing that foundation. The most important thing we have to do is put our mind in a position of stability. Think about it. Individuals who are dealing with, let's say, depression or mental illness, what's the missing factor there? It's stability. Their mind, whether it's chemically or it's mentally, is off whack. It's just it's just turned just a little bit the wrong way, and because it's off the axis just a little bit, everything is messed up. Why? Because of stability. It's missing that stability that's there. And you take that person and you truly impact the issue that's at hand, not with medication, which can help.
Right.
But you truly get to the root of what the issue is, and that stability.
That's just it. And don't deal with symptoms. Go to the root.
And that's the stability that's there. What are they living for? What is their purpose? What is their existence? I think every man, as a point in our lives as men, we get to that position where we wake up one morning and we go, why am I here? I don't care whether you have faith or not. You're asking yourself, what is my existence? Maybe that's young life crisis, 25 to 30. Maybe that's midlife crisis in your 40s and 50s. There's a position where you just wake up one day and you go, why do I exist? Like, what is my purpose here? And I think building that foundation gives us the stability that we need. And look at it. Look at how our country is falling apart. There's more mental illness now than there was 35, 40 years ago. Why? Because we've lost the stability. The stability has been completely removed. So developing that faith, what that looks like for you. Maybe that's just meditation. Maybe you're not a believer, okay? So how do I do this if I don't believe in Christianity? Then you set yourself aside to meditate, to put your focus together, to bring your focus together on who am I? What am I doing? What is my purpose? What is my existence?
Because we're all attracted to so much noise nowadays. I don't think people know how to just be still,
shut it off,
and be quiet, and turn stuff off. And like you said, if you don't have a strong faith, you don't go to church, you don't believe in Christ, then okay, that's one way to go. But how about this? Sit alone and breathe. And just try to let your mind clear a little bit. And I'll tell you, let it rest. It's different than taking a nap or going to sleep. This is different. This is like purposeful sitting, focusing on your breath, and just letting your mind kind of go. And you can do it for 10 minutes at a time. And that could be a daily thing. It could be, whatever. But I've read so much of success from successful people, very successful people, that are very good about taking some time for themselves to just do that type of meditation, and things happen because of it.
Well, think about it. We're so inundated with stress. We never take a full, deep, fill the lungs full capacity breath.
Right.
You know how much oxygen
into the belly, not this neck chest breathing, this belly breathing.
You know how much oxygen we're missing out on? What feeds the brain? The oxygen does. What opens the sense gates? Oxygen does. And if we're not filling our lungs and filling our brain with that oxygen, we're really missing out on that focus, like what you're talking about. You know, and you're exactly right. Just sitting down and breathing exercises.
So what are these 5 sense gates?
So the idea, so the idea of the 5 sense gates is something I'm still doing a lot of studying on and developing. But your 5 sense gates, your hearing, your sight, your intake in your mouth, what you're intaking, your breathing ability, okay, and what you're breathing in, and then your physical realm, what's around you. So the 5 sense gates. Now, some people have different portions of it. There's other types. Those are the 5 that I really focus on. So what are you hearing? What are you listening to? What is pouring into you? One of the biggest things people understand is that we have the ability to speak our life into existence. And what I mean by that, if you want to be successful, if you speak that every single day, you look into the mirror, you look directly into your own eyes, and you speak it every day. I will be successful. I will own my own business. I will have a wife. I will be the best dad. Whatever it is you're trying to get to achieve, you speak that to yourself every day by staring in the mirror. You're going to reprogram your mind and put you in a position where you're chasing after that. And it's almost subconscious. It's almost in a sense that you don't even realize you're doing it, but you're talking that. You're seeing. What are you allowing to come through your sight? Is it things that you shouldn't be looking at? Is it people you shouldn't be around? Is it violence that you shouldn't be seeing? Is it women you shouldn't be staring at as a male or men as a woman? Whatever that may be, what are you allowing to be put into your heart and into your mind through your eyes? Then what are you breathing in? What is it? All right, and we just talked about the breath, not getting enough air, not breathing well enough, not opening the body up to the proper amount of oxygen. I mean, we were created.
Right. Why do we all feel so much better when we're outside in fresh air?
Perfect example.
In nature.
That's right.
By the ocean. Going for a hike in the woods, and we're breathing, and it feels better.
It feels so much
it makes sense, versus sitting in your house breathing stale air.
And nobody ever pays any attention to the 5 sense gates. They don't. Then you have your physical realm. Are you putting your body in a position where it's being beat up and hurt on a regular basis? Are you doing things? I don't care what it is. What are you doing that is affecting you as far as the physical realm? And then of course there's ingesting. What are you ingesting? Are you eating trash all the time? Like what is it? Those are those 5 sense gates, and they all work to protect the subconscious, which is the most powerful tool we have as human beings, is the subconscious. Because what's great about the subconscious is it doesn't know reality. It doesn't know where you are today compared to where you're going to be tomorrow. So if you speak to yourself that you are what you want to be, you're eventually going to be there. Why? Because the subconscious doesn't know the difference. And if you continue to tell your subconscious on a regular basis that you are whatever you're looking for, then you're going to end up becoming that.
It's the little voice in our heads, right?
That's exactly right.
And if I think so many people in our world today, and maybe this is always, I can only speak as a 42-year-old man, the world that I live in now versus the world that was 50 to 100 years ago. But I feel like people are so quick to tell themselves, no, I can't do this, you can't do this, we'll fail, and even with all the positive stuff that's out there and motivational, inspirational messages that are out there and great stories shared, where's the bulk of our news, that comes to us, whether it be through the television or through our cell phones, social media. So much of things that are newsworthy come from a very kind of negative or, catastrophe, incident. And so I think that is fed into this subconscious, into this small voice, this negativity. And we need to... That's where faith and having that foundation, I think, really helps to offset some of that, because you can just blow that stuff off and know it's like, no, that may be that person's situation, but that ain't me.
That's exactly right. Yeah, that's exactly right, and that's huge. And that leads me to this other idea, and we'll wrap up here soon. Is this idea of the compound effect? I don't know if you've ever read that book, Darren Hardy. Not promoting him or anything, but he's got a great book called The Compound Effect, and it talks about making small, minute decisions and how those small, minute decisions impact the larger picture. And when you're thinking about this idea of how spiritual affects physical, physical affects spiritual, we've had a lot to talk about. It's a lot to ingest.
Yeah.
My best recommendation would be to take it one day at a time, one moment at a time, one breath at a time. Wake up in the morning, sit on the side of your bed, open up your chest, open up your stomach, and just take a couple big, deep, start out with just one big, deep breath, and then, all right, I'm going to get my day going, and then go into the mirror and speak truth into your life. Those are those small, minute changes. You can't go and just make a radical decision, cancel your electric, your internet, cancel your television, and I'm not going to let anything negative come. No, you'll drive yourself crazy. But if you make small decisions to protect your 5 sense gates and to build your faith, then over the time of, let's say you do it over a year, stop after a year, look back at your life, and you're going to be just amazed by the transition and who you are and what has happened to you, because you have made small decisions to grow your faith, to create stability in your mind, which then now affects the whole physical realm in which you're working, which is just a really great thing. So I'd encourage you, if you haven't read it, it's a great book to pick up and read through. They're called the Compound
Works with
Effect.
money too.
It does, yeah.
The compound,
penny a day double. I don't know if you've heard of that concept.
Just
but
ask Warren Buffett,
Yep.
Yeah, no, that's so true, because it's the simple stuff.
Simple.
That
it's discipline.
Little things add up to big things over time.
Always.
If you're consistent and persistent.
Yep.
And it's like the Colorado River, right? That carves the Grand Canyon. That didn't happen in like a couple of weeks. Everybody, the Grand Canyon formed over a long period from a very small river. I mean, when you look at it now, it looks pretty little. With dinky little river way at the bottom of this, one of the greatest things on the planet. So. Yeah, it's such a great concept to wrap your head around. You have another scripture here.
So the last one here, Hebrews 12, 11 through 12, says, "For the moment, all discipline seems painful rather than pleasant." And that's true. As we try to develop ourselves, we see discipline in our lives as almost a painful task. Because it is. If you need to stop something or start something or move into a direction,
hurts, man.
Change hurts. It really does. But I love what the rest of that verse goes, is, "But later it yields the peaceful fruit of righteousness to those who have been trained by it." Meaning that when we put discipline in our lives, and it's going to be painful, but eventually that pain turns into righteousness. That righteousness then gives us this understanding of what peace looks like. And peace is what we're seeking. Ultimately, out of anything else in this world, we want peace. We're born into a chaotic world. That's what it is. You're either born into a war, just getting out of a war, or a war just starting. That is what it's been for a long, long time in this world. So we're always at war. Whether it's spiritually, it's physically, we're always at war. We as a human race, we're looking for that peace. Discipline helps provide that. Why? Because it's creating stability. It's creating stability.
And people see like people who are really disciplined, and I know I've thought like this before. They must be so miserable. They have such structure to their lives. But then you talk to those people, and most of them they feel so much freedom from it, because they have such a good routine that they've committed themselves to, that it allows them the freedom to do other things, to have, if they get up at 4 and they do this by 5 a.m. and they do this by 7, and then, but what happens is it's like lunchtime, and they've lived more in that day than most people do.
80% of the population.
And so then they have the whole second half of the day to just like, well, I can do whatever I want, because I got my work done, I got my meditation time done, I got my workout in, I had some family time, whatever, and now I got the whole day kind of So it's structure actually, or discipline does help. Bring that freedom.
That freedom, that peace, and what we're looking for. And the last part says, "Therefore lift your drooping hands, and it strengthens your weakened knees." Meaning that it's going to take training. It's going to take effort. You can't droop and be depressed. That's that idea behind that. Pick up your drooping hands, lift yourself up, stand up straight, get off your knees. Let's strengthen them. Let's move our lives forward.
Be an action taker.
Oh, I love that. Be an action taker. We need a lot more people taking action.
Matt, what's that shirt? Sam has it on right now.
Yep,
Massive action taker. And you got the high performer one too,
exactly.
which is pretty cool. We like our Criticalbench t-shirts around here. Yeah. So this has been fantastic. Obviously, we've kind of gone
all over the place,
all over the map with this, But I do. It's one of those topics that there's so many ways to go with it. So we just tried to create some kind of helpful conversation to someone.
And is this the only perfect way to grow stability mentally?
Right.
Of course not.
Right.
It's not. But it is a way. And for some people, they may not have a way.
That's right.
And here is a way.
And those
to do
those are the people I think that are that feel lost or feel like they have nothing to lean on.
Yep.
No you don't build a building or a house without having a really solid foundation. So they have nothing guiding them in their life. So you need something like that.
My wife and I had a chance to just have a conversation with some friends of ours who were just having a tough time. And my wife and I both almost at the same time said that our reason for existing as humans while we're on this earth is to be that pillar, to be that stability that other people can lean on when they're in their time of need.
Yeah.
And that means that we have to make sure that we are inputting that physical aspect of positivity to strengthen us spiritually and to allow ourselves to grow spiritually. And then once we've grown spiritually, then we're able to be those pillars for other people who are searching and they're seeking. You don't have to go the way that I'm going. I'm okay with that. But if I can be a pillar to help you get to the way you need to go, then I want to be there for that, for you, to give you some type of stability, because the world is losing its stability. So if I can be that stability, then I want to be. It's just it's a different thought process.
Yeah.
It really is.
No, that's great. That's fantastic. And that's what makes like serving others or being there for others is what I get a lot of fulfillment out of, as I know you do, and I know other people that are in this building, when you feel like you've helped someone change their life, it's so much more rewarding than just about anything else, that you can do than, monetary, return or anything else. So awesome sitting down with you. This won't be the last time, I'm sure, because there's so many other topics that we can cover and stuff. So I'm sure I'll have you back for sure. This has been episode 10, Strong by Design, with my guest, JP, Mr. Camera Guy, who's decided to sit down with us, which is fantastic. So
I appreciate it.
Thank you so much. And we'll be talking to you very soon on our next episode. Thanks for joining us.